Students Speak, where on a weekly basis, we are joined by students and we hear from them their views, their opinions on contemporary issues. Well, for quite some time now, the board examination and subsequent cancellation of the same has been quite a burning topic for the student community. While a lot of students and parents are breathing a sigh of relief, considering the COVID situation in the country, but there are a lot of questions that have been left unanswered as to what is the way forward going to be, how are students going to be assessed. As we all know, a lot of students usually peg their hopes on the board examinations and hope that they're going to do well in that, and that is going to be the decider for college admissions. So a lot of it is right now in TC, and then the next big question is also going to be the conducting of the competitive examinations. As we know that in India, to the top and premier institutions, we have various competitive examinations that are conducted. So if the board exams have been cancelled this year, the next big question is what happens to the competitive exams? How are college admissions going to shape up this year? We're already nearing the middle of June. And obviously, this means that things have gone haywire in terms of the academic calendar. So a lot of questions still remain unanswered. And that's why we thought that, it makes sense to take this topic to the youth and understand from the youth that what is it that they feel about the cancellation of the board exams? How do they think that, the assessment matrix should now be formulated? What should be the fate of competitive exams? So I'm joined by two very lovely students. I'm joined by Manya and Arushi, who are both students of the Heritage Experiential Learning School, Gurgaon. So thank you very much, Manya and Arushi, for joining me. I think all of us, like including me and my attendees, all of us are very curious and interested to hear your views. And I'm sure a lot of your views will also be echoing the sentiments of all the conversations that you've had with your peers on this topic, because this is something that, affects the student community at large. So I must believe that there must be a lot of chatter around it. So we're going to be unpacking this and a lot more in today's conversation. To all my attendees who have joined us, make sure you're sending us a lot of questions. I'm sure you all also would like to know what the youth thinks about this. I'm going to make sure to integrate the same in my conversation with Manya and Arushi. And we also have very exciting giveaways lined up for the best question of the episode. So make sure you're asking us a lot of questions. Without further, wasting time, let's just sort of get straight into this conversation that we're waiting to hear from both of them on. So first, I think, I would like to know what was your first reaction when you guys finally heard that CBSE has decided to cancel the board exams? Like, was it a sigh of relief? What were the questions that were there in their mind? Like, what was the general pulse of the youth? So Arushi, let's start with you.
For me, it was kind of a mixed reaction because I didn't really know how to react. I was happy because, it was very uncertain whether boards were going to happen or not, and I had to study for entrance exams as well. So I was happy for that reason, but also it was kind of confusing because I don't know how will I be judged now, or a lot of my entrance exams or colleges were based on the marks I score in boards. So yeah,
Correct.
that was a little confusing.
Correct. So a lot of mixed reactions there. Like, yes, you were happy. You were also happy at the fact that there's finally some closure because, for so many months, you guys have just been hanging. You're probably the longest batch that has been in 12th standard that has had the longest duration. So, well, I can totally, I think, relate to some of the sentiments that you're sharing with me. Manya, did you have a similar reaction? What were you thinking? What was your discussion like with your friends? What was their pulse like?
Yeah, I also had a mixed reaction. But first of all, I was genuinely very shocked for some reason. I didn't expect that actually the exams were going to get cancelled. But finally, like you said, that we did get some closure, that finally the uncertainty was over. But still, I'm also like in a very confusing situation right now that furthermore, how will we be evaluated? So, yeah.
So now that the question really is about how are you guys going to be evaluated. So I'd like to throw this question to you. Now, if you guys were in the place of the policymakers, in light of the board exams being cancelled, what is the alternate mechanism that you would like to propose to assess students? I mean, we all know, you know it better than me. You guys are in in this situation right now. You know how casually people take pre-boards and internal exams. There's always that chalta attitude ki nahi board exam to hai, and that's going to be a lot easier and we're going to manage to do miraculously well there. So, there is this sort of lethargy that is there to, the internal exams that you have. So, keeping that in mind, what do you think? What sort of an assessment pattern should they have? Should it be pegged on your board mark? Should it be a combination of how you've done in 10th and 11th? Or maybe, should you have something which should be done online? Like, what is it that you guys would like to see? Because it's, after all, it's a yardstick of your performance and your absorption of concepts that you have learned in 11th and 12th. So let's start with Manya first.
Like CBSE is obviously coming with their own criteria, so no specific strong opinion. But I personally feel that we can be judged on the basis of our 10th final marks, like our board marks, and 12th grade internals. Not 11th exactly, or maybe 11th should have a very small percentage because usually in 11th grade are academic grunt jobs. So majorly 10th boards and 12th internals, and still a small percentage of 11th maybe.
All right. So Manya strongly believes that you should give heavier weightage to how you've done in 10th, the least weightage to 11th, and a little more weightage to the internal exams you've had in 12th. Arushi, do you echo a similar opinion, or do you have something different in mind? Considering that there might be that sentiment in the student body that, we were totally not prepared for this. So, what is it that you feel we should do as an alternate?
I think I kind of agree with Manya because, however we were going to perform in board exams was going to be basis on what we have prepared earlier. So, yeah, I think they can take a mixture of our 11th, 12th pre-boards and internals. However, I think that for many people, the subjects they study in 10th grade is different from what they're studying in 12th grade. So yeah, I think that might be kind of difficult to evaluate because I mean, some colleges do not require science marks to be judged for commerce students. So yeah, and also there are a lot of other things that we can be evaluated on the basis of. For example, the government was going to do an aptitude test or like CUCET for Delhi University. So I think we can be judged on that basis too.
And generally, I think that again is a very balanced way to look at it. Generally, what is the general sentiment, I'd like to know, in the student community? Because I don't think anybody was prepared for this. While for a good student, I mean, it probably does not matter as much because you have consistently been doing well. So you're not going to be hampered as much. But probably for a student who's not done that well, especially, you mentioned DU to me, and we know that especially in the NCR region, like a lot of students are looking at DU as a lucrative option, and that's like their next goal after school, that they want to end up in going to one of these DU colleges. And we know DU colleges have crazy cutoffs, and it's completely based on how you do in your board exam. So now what happens to the large chunk of students? Like, obviously a lot of plans have now been, if I may say, people are finding themselves in an uncomfortable position because what they had originally envisaged, now suddenly there's a change in circumstances. So, how are students grappling with those changes? Like, are you seeing students now who are looking at alternate like career choices or course choices? Like, what is the general strategy and what is going on in their mind right now, considering everything's in a bit of a limbo? So, Amanya, you'd like to go first, or Arushi, either of you? Feel free.
I think Arushi can go first.
I think that any one of us were or are like none of us was or is certain about what is going to happen in future or on what basis we will be judged. So there is nobody who is at an advantage at this point or at any disadvantage. Even if we're having a different set of exams or entrance exams or aptitude or anything, none of us is prepared for it. So we are equally advantaged or disadvantaged or uncertain. Also, I think this is the right time to kind of for people to know that percentage is not the sole basis on which a person is judged in terms of success or career options. And I mean, people might be looking at different career options, but I don't think that is needed because if you are certain that you need to do something, that then board exam should not be the basis of which you, I mean, what you have to or you wanted to do in future. So yeah.
Yeah, I
I think
totally
that's a
agree
fair
with
point.
Arushi that yeah, that we are
Go
in
on.
such an uncertain situation and we have made our career choices, I think, and maybe some people have changed it, but I still feel that majority of the people are still sticking to their original choices only. And yeah, like Arushi said that this is a situation where we are realizing that even our extracurriculars matter and not just our marks, because many colleges are now looking at our extracurriculars also and what we have done apart from academics, and they're also giving value to that. So yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, from what I'm able to gather from both of your responses is the fact that, now people are kind of realizing the importance of having more holistic profiles, and for like kind of just going beyond that notion that, all you need to focus on is how much you're going to score in 12th standard and board exams. That's not the be all and end all of it, which I personally feel is a welcome step, because I think it's making us question the relevance of the board exam and the kind of importance that we have accorded to it, which sometimes, according to me, is, I think, more than necessary. So I want to know from you guys that, you know is this a situation where we should rethink the importance of the board examinations in grade 12? Like, is this a sort of a reflection point where maybe we should rethink this entire institution that we have called the board exams, and instead like come up with like different assessment criteria which are more robust and more holistic, rather than just focusing on one final exam and how much you're going to score in that exam? So what do you guys feel about that?
Like I agree with you that. Wait, I'm sorry to interrupt. If you want to continue, you can.
No, no, you should continue.
Okay, so I agree with the part that we should have more of an holistic approach, because not just marks, like our extracurriculars and everything, because even abroad universities, they give equal consideration to our extracurriculars and marks in ninth, 10th, 11th, and 12th grade. So that should be considered as well. But I do agree that boards are also very important and necessary, like how so many diversified students all across our country together write one single exam is just truly a big deal. So both are important, but this year is just an exception, I think.
All right. So you're saying that we do need to look at it holistically, but definitely this is something here to say, because this is like a nationwide exam that we do and students can benchmark their performances. Arushi, what do you think? Is there a need now to relook the way we conduct the board exams, have a different kind of an assessment pattern? Like, what is it that you're thinking?
I think after this pandemic, we will rethink or we will look at board exams as a a different opinion on it, because and I think we also should have a different opinion on it because uh, we I mean our future or our due and I think this pandemic is kind of accelerating the new education policy. So I think it is the right time where we can rethink about board exams. And I agree with Manya, board exams are extremely important because it it gives a common measure to judge the entire India, students of the entire India. And board exams are definitely important. They should be continued, but there should be balance of both board exams and entrance exams so that even aptitude can be judged on the basis of, entrance exams or anything.
That's a wonderful point that you made there, that aptitude also needs to find its place, like its appropriate place in the landscape of the examination system in India. And also the fact that somewhere this direction that we are headed in is actually in alignment with the national education policy that was launched last year. And obviously, anybody who sees the highlights of the NEP and actually goes through them, you'll see that they are looking and intending to make sweeping changes in the Indian education system. So having said that, while the sweeping changes are being made in the curriculum and the courses, it's obviously going to trickle down also to the way that we are assessing students. So probably this is a good time for us to reflect and introspect about a lot of the ways in which we conduct our examinations. Now, I mean, one thing I think we don't talk about enough is the mental health of students. I mean, it's been an incredibly difficult time for students, especially for you guys who are in 12th standard, because you don't really have much certainty on your college admissions. Even right now, even though the boards are cancelled, there's no certainty on, when can you expect the results, when are the competitive exams going to happen. So obviously that must be really taking a toll on the mental health of students, the kind of anxiety and frustration levels that, they're facing. So I actually want you guys to throw some light on that and, tell us a little bit about, the kind of support that students need at this point of time. And if your schools or, other organizations are providing it, if you can share that with us so that other people who are actually attending this episode can also pick up pointers, because I really feel like students really need a patient ear and a helping hand in these difficult situations. So over to both of you, if you can tell us a little bit about the plight of the students and how we can help them better. Manya, you'd like to go first?
Yeah, okay. So I agree that considering the whole situation, there was a lot of anxiety and there was a lot of effect on our mental health. And even few colleges I applied to, they had their specific, they introduced their mental health lines or something, contact details where you can talk about it, voice your student opinion more, and talk about your feelings and how you really feel. So, yeah, I think that we should really focus on mental health as well and consider what student opinion really is and how they are feeling, and as a whole, take consideration to that as well.
Right. So I think this is a good idea. Like you said, that schools and colleges are extending helplines, free helpline numbers where students get connected to like self-help groups and counselors who can actually help them, sort of navigate all the struggles that they're going through mentally. I think that's definitely a suggestion to our fellow educators out there. Arishi, would you like to add something to that to, just highlight what we can do better to help the students in these situations?
I think I agree with Manya. There is a lot of uncertainty, and yeah, we like various colleges are helping students. I think a lot of students also require kind of a motivation to kind of keep going forward and not give up at this moment. And also, I think we should look to the brighter side of the situation, that before the board exams were cancelled, we were kind of, everything was overlapping, like all the entrance exam, board exams, everything were together. And now that the board exams have been scrapped, we can focus on only one thing, which is college admissions. So yeah, that is a good thing.
Super. So, I think, yeah, you're right. I mean, it's important that in a situation where everything's looking dismal around the world, it's important for us to look at the smaller, brighter things in life and focus on that to sort of regain our positivity that we have lost in the process of going through the pandemic, especially the second lockdown. And you did talk about the fact that, it's important for us to focus on college admissions, which is the next thing that I think we need to talk about, which is that what do you think about conducting the competitive exams? Because the lakhs of students who year on year write the JEE, then you have the law entrance exams that happen, you have the CLAT that happens physically. Last year they did it remotely, but there were some issues with that. There are the CET, etc., the state examinations that are basically entry points to the various premier institutions. So now that CBSE has decided to cancel the board exams, what is the way forward for that for them? What do the students expect out of those authorities? Because I'm sure they're waiting for some decisions there also. So can we start with you, Arushi?
Yeah, so I think that entrance exam should happen, because if boards are not happening, then how else are we going to be judged to get into different colleges? So, and also it will encourage in future that more and more entrance exams should be taken instead of only merit based or only percentage based exams.
All right. So I
Um,
actually definitely think that you should have the competitive exams that do take place. Manya, would you agree also in keeping in mind that our vaccination drives are still ongoing right now, and you have students who are writing it from different parts of the country, not only the cities where the vaccination drives are more robust, but
yeah.
also in the rural areas where it is a little more difficult, and the vaccines and the supplies are slowly trickling in. So what do you think now? What do we do with the competitive exams, and how do we manage this huge challenge that we have to conduct the a competitive exams for entrance to these premier institutions?
Regarding the conducting of competitive exams, I think yes and no both. No for those specific courses or fields where interviews and online tools can still assess the student. But yes, for entrance exams for engineering and medicine, because I think they're very important as well. And students have been preparing for it for so long. But like you said, that once the vaccination drive is completely under control and students are vaccinated, only then it should be done. So it should be postponed for later, where students can actually give it in offline condition. But another thing I feel is that, like, for board exams, these marks are for both students who are applying abroad and for India. Now, for students applying abroad, international universities can't change their academic calendars and schedules just for students of one region. But for competitive exams in India, where students are looking for colleges in India, I feel that the schedule can be pushed more and it can be done later on. So basically, postponement.
All right. So you're saying that, let's postpone the academic calendar
Yeah.
in India so that, we can ensure that students have at least gotten like vaccinated. At least India has, forget, each student getting vaccinated, but, India has reached like we've achieved herd immunity when, 40%
Yeah,
of the
exactly.
population gets vaccinated. And then it's probably possible that with, social distancing norms, we actually physically conduct these exams.
Hmm.
And obviously online tools are available for certain assessments where they think that online tools will be a good way for them to conduct the exams. Totally, I think those are some very interesting suggestions that both of you have offered there. uh, but again, I think this also brings us, like you spoke about foreign universities. We have always seen that foreign universities, do not peg their admissions to a particular test. So the SAT is a part of one of the many things
Yeah.
that you do that builds your college application. And the reason being is because they want to be able to assess the entire personality of the student and to make sure that the student is the right fit for the university and the university is the right fit for the student. Right. And it also gives a student more number of chances, right, to showcase their sort of skill, their sort of talent that they have, which shows that they're best suited for the program at the university, which unfortunately somewhere doesn't happen in India because, in India, a lot of our entrances are only pegged on how, you end up doing academically on a particular day. And all of us have written exams, and we know that, it so happens that sometimes, luck might play a bad role. It just may not be your day. You might just end up, getting certain questions that you were not prepared for. A lot of things can go wrong. You can be unwell, etc. So, do you also think this is a time where, college admissions, like, colleges should actually relook the way they are admitting students into the universities? Like, since both of you are from the NCR region, for example, DU, is this a time for, DU colleges to actually think that, just having those cutoffs, that's not enough? Like, probably, we encourage more students to like do, like, actually send us profiles, showcasing all their work. So, do you think this is also a time where institutions should be a little more creative in the kind of admission criterion they should roll out? Let's go with you, Manya, first.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. Like, new age universities have already started doing this, like you said, like their own aptitude tests, assessments, conducting interviews, and having more of a holistic approach to assessing the student profile. And similarly, other colleges should also do that. So I totally agree with you that shifting the psychology from just one mark sheet, how you score in one single exam, and that deciding your future and which college you go to, that should totally be changed. And there should be more light on extracurriculars and what students really do apart from their academics as well.
Absolutely. So I think I'm very happy to hear that you are echoing a similar sentiment. And I think for other people joining us, I think we should, as a part of the education community, actually use this as a time to inflect and reflect about, the way we can relook our admission criterions. Arushi, what about you? What do you think? I mean, how must colleges tune their admission processes in these extraordinary times? Because well, God knows how long it's going to take for everybody to get vaccinated. There are new challenges that are being thrown every single day in the country, and we can't keep blaming the government for everything. I mean, it is taking its own course of time. So while it's taking its own course of time, what can colleges do to alleviate students from all that uncertainty? Because right now the big question for them is college admissions. So how can we give them some certainty on that front? What can colleges do in terms of reshaping their admission criteria?
I think I completely agree कि हमें like we should have a holistic process than only percentages, because it is not only the knowledge but also the aptitude and interest of a person that matters. And also, a lot of colleges are kind of keeping up with the people who have applied in those colleges through mails and webinars, and kind of giving them the exposure to what they are doing in that particular situation. So that's one of their ways to help the students out in their career, and in kind of bringing some amount of certainty in this particular situation.
Yeah, I totally agree with you that this is something that we need to do. And actually, I think this is where I encourage a lot of colleges that it's important for all of us to distance ourselves, like try to distance ourselves from the board uncertainty. I mean, if there's some aptitude test that we can do online, maybe get kids to write online essays about why they want to be a particular part of like a program or a course, or why they want to pursue that. Or maybe just get them to like submit profiles which actually showcase the complete like sort of personality of the students. I think that really help alleviate a lot of the stress that students are facing at this point of time, and it's really going to make a big difference to their mindset. Because I personally feel that I think students have suffered a lot during the pandemic. I mean, especially if I think about your batch, because right from part of your 11th standard to your entire 12th standard, you guys have spent it only doing online education, and it's really not been easy. While it's not been easy for the schools and the teachers, it's not been easy even for the student community to suddenly change the mode of teaching, to be able to absorb concepts. And I think this is again something that will require some amount of inflection even from the universities. Because once all of you come to universities, not everybody has had access to great online learning. So we'll actually have to even assess as universities that how good has the foundation been laid in 11th and 12th, and actually kind of try to rework on that and build on that. So before I close this session, any parting thoughts on that? Is that what you guys also felt? Because you are the guys who have experienced so much of online learning. So is something similar to what you all have been discussing? Because you have spent 14 months just like learning online. So do you think this is something that higher educational institutions will have to look into, Manya?
Yeah, I totally agree that they should take this into more and more consideration, that only numbers and marks don't decide your futures. And this situation of the pandemic, I think it's the best situation to realize that, giving more value to the overall student profile as well and aptitude. So I totally agree that universities and colleges should think about this approach a bit more seriously.
Correct. Arishi, what would you say? Do you like have had a similar experience while in school? Are we facing similar issues?
Yeah, I think even I completely agree to this. We have been doing online education the complete year, and yeah, I also agree that only percentage is not the thing that people could judge us on the basis of. Also, there was this movie, Three Idiots. So it's like we either be the Chatur person who is only focusing on the academic front, or the three friends who are kind of focusing on the entire, like the holistic process of life. So yeah.
Absolutely. I think that's a very good analogy. I think In fact, I feel like, now in the current context of the new NEP coming in, I think, that is somewhere you see that, that is pretty much like the NEP is speaking about, the actually the problems that the movie was trying to highlight. The fact that, we need to stop producing rote learners, but we need to actually produce more thinkers, and people who are solution providers, because that's what the world needs, isn't it? I mean, we are facing such complex issues, we are facing a global pandemic. So if there's anything that we need, is we need people who can be solution providers, because clearly the way forward is not going to be easy. I think it's been a great conversation with both of you and hearing your insights on this. And to all the attendees joining me, this is exactly what the youth want. So what they're saying very clearly is that if you talk about the board exams, and they're saying that yes, let the board exams be there as a benchmark assessment, but let's not accord that much importance to it as we do. College admissions can be more holistic, assessment patterns can be more holistic. So I think there's a lot of food for thought that both of you have given to me and my viewers who have been a part of this show today. And I would like to thank both of you for taking out the time and joining us this evening. I think we've had a great discussion today, and I hope both of you have enjoyed the same.
Yeah, thank you so much for giving us this opportunity to sharing our opinions with you and the audience as well.
Thank you so much for having us.
I'm so happy that I could host both of you. And a big thank you to all our viewers who are joining us. Thank you so much. It's because of the encouragement that we receive from all of you on social media as well as on our weekly webinars is the reason why we are motivated to bring you content on a weekly basis. So please make sure you're following us on social media. You follow our social media handle on Instagram. It's called VOTV by Vijay Bhumi, as well as our YouTube handle, which goes by the name VOTV by Vijay Bhumi, which will keep you updated on all the weekly episodes that we have. Thank you, everybody. Stay safe and mask up.